There was a silence that wasn't peace. It was anticipation. Everything seemed to stand still, as if the very walls knew what I was waiting for. Every creak of the floorboards, every whistle of the wind through the open window was like a whispered warning. I wasn't afraid. I felt something else, a kind of vigilance that started in my chest and descended in waves, leaving every part of me more alert than it should be. I was lying in bed, but it felt as if my body no longer fit there. My skin tingled, my heartbeat echoing against the pillow. The clock on the shelf read 2:10 in the morning. Its hands made lazy circles, mocking my urgency. Is he coming tonight? What if he doesn't? What if he's already here? I closed my eyes for a second just to try and contain the storm inside, but a slight stir of the wind was enough to remind me that every nerve was on fire. My thighs pressed together more than necessary, as if hiding their accumulated heat. My chest, unbound beneath the light fabric, reacted to the cool breeze with a sensitivity only it knew. That was the curious thing. Even without being here, he was already provoking me. It was as if the empty space of the window was a signed invitation, a silent agreement. I let one leg slip from under the sheets, wanting to feel the cold from outside, just to remember what I was feeling within. It had become a ritual. Every time he said, *maybe tonight*, I did the exact same things, as if preparing the stage could summon the act. I turned off the TV without paying attention to what was on. Each extinguished light in the hallway was a step closer to the secret. The room, now cloaked in a soft gloom, had its only entrance wide open. The window. It was more than an opening. It was a confession. The nightgown I'd chosen was too thin for the mountain chill, almost nothing. It slid over my body like it already knew where to stop. And I left it that way, with nothing underneath, no protection, no excuses. My chest moved freely, each breath bringing a shiver that wasn't just from the temperature. My skin reacted as if his touch had already passed over it, despite his absence. Every small detail was deliberate, but the main thing was to feel vulnerable, and yet, in control. I lay on my side, facing the window, faking a rest that would not come. A disguised alert, a signal pulsing loudly as if to say, *come quickly*. Time passed slowly, as it always did. The only thing that moved was the early morning air, drifting in, brushing against places only he used to touch, until a short vibration. Just one. The phone on the nightstand lit up. I opened the screen without a second thought. *Can I come in? Everyone asleep? A single emoji was enough for a reply, but my body had already answered. The message was short, almost dry, but it pierced through me as if he himself were whispering in my ear. The phone was still trembling on the table when my finger responded. Nothing more than a thumbs up, but the real response came from my body. My tightly closed legs slowly parted beneath the sheets, not out of impulse, but out of certainty. The draft from the window found this new space and passed through it like one who already knew the way. My body reacted with a silent jolt. It was as if the environment itself was conspiring with me. The whole house was sleeping, but my room was another territory, with another code. The wide-open window seemed to glow in the dark, and I knew what that meant. It wasn't just a physical opening. It was symbolic. That was the entry point. That was where it all began again. My breath grew short, not from fear, but from the knowledge that the inevitable was just a few steps away. I felt an internal surge, not of explicit heat, but of raw, sharp anticipation. The sheet beneath me was no longer a shelter. It was a stage. I was the scenery, and more than an accomplice, I felt dangerous. I knew what I was provoking. I knew the risk. I knew the rule we were breaking. But in that moment, nothing in me wanted to stop it. If the door had been locked, would he have insisted? But the window? The window was always an invitation. The shadow emerged as if it were part of the night itself. It wasn't a shock, but a confirmation. My heart didn't know what to do. It pounded violently and then stopped for a second, as if it needed to understand. Was it really him? Of course it was. The way he moved, close to the wall, avoiding the patches of light, with his shoulders low and his step sure. It was his. A predator who knows not only the path, but the will of his prey. The garden swallowed him and then spat him out, right at the level of the window. And when his leg came over the frame, my entire body reacted. My throat tightened, but not from fright. It was a kind of heat that rose up and bound me from within. Before my eyes saw him, his scent arrived. That scent of his, always with a woody base, but this time with a sweet note, as if carrying something from the street, from the wind, from the night. It mixed with the air rising from my own skin, with something he didn't even know he provoked, but would recognize as soon as he got close. I felt the hairs on my neck stand up before he even touched me. It was the body's warning. He had arrived, and without a single word, I felt his presence fill everything. The window ceased to be a window. It was now a portal. You little devil, this is the kind of story you shouldn't be listening to. But since you've made it this far, you might as well enjoy it. Go on, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because from this point forward, things could get even more intense. And tell me in the comments, what city or country are you listening from? If he had taken one more minute, I would have gone to get him myself. I remained with my back to him, not by chance. I wanted him to see me like this, still, exposed, surrendered, without saying a word. Facing the window, my back to him. The sound of his bare feet on the wooden floor alerted me. He was here, but I didn't turn. His body approached silently until his mouth landed on my neck. It wasn't a common kiss. It was direct, wet, taking without asking. An attack disguised as longing. He knew where to touch, biting first, then sucking slowly. My neck became his point of entry, and I felt my blood quicken. His firm hand came to my waist, pulling me gently until our bodies were flush. And then I felt his hardness behind me, pressing as if asking for passage, but already knowing it would be granted. The memory of the last time came like a lightning strike. Right there, in that same position, with the same force, the same silence full of promises. My body didn't need much. It wasn't a surprise. It was a memory being activated, as if he had never left. I was trembling, but it wasn't from the cold. It was the shock of being remembered from the inside out. Why was it so easy for him to recognize me without even looking at my face? Or worse, why did I feel like I was already his before the final touch? The first real touch was pure reflex. He turned me with a firmness that wasn't aggressive, but urgent. He pushed me against the wall like someone who already knows the reaction of the body he holds. My shoulder hit first, then my chest. In seconds, his body was molded to mine, with a precision that only habit and desire can calculate. The heat between us wasn't ordinary. It was dense, almost stifling, as if the room had held its breath to leave only his scent behind. And my body recognized every point of contact. My skin clung to his where our breathing was heavy. The space between our faces was millimeters, and he didn't speak. He didn't need to. His mouth moved slowly, seeking my collarbone, my shoulder, my chin. Each kiss was exploratory, like someone savoring something familiar yet still insatiable, like someone who knows it will slip through their fingers if they don't hold on tight. I didn't move. I was being read, felt, deciphered, and I let him. He still hadn't said a word, but his presence spoke volumes. Asterisk. Tonight, you're mine again. And I was, entirely. There was no fabric between us now, only the thin nightgown, damp with night air and expectation. And beneath it, no barrier, nothing to stop what was already in motion. Did he feel how ready I was, even before his final touch? It was direct, without announcement, without hesitation. His hand found my breast with a precision that said everything. I've been here before, and I've come back to remind you. There was no delicacy. This wasn't the time for it. The grip was firm, almost raw, like someone rediscovering a territory that still bears their mark. I felt his thumb slide slowly over the sensitive center. A small provocation, but one that made my entire body react in a jolt that was pure invitation. A sound escaped my throat, not loud but real, somewhere between a stifled sigh and a confession. The kind of sound you make when you try to hide pleasure and fail. His other hand held me by the waist, keeping everything in place. There was no retreating, but I didn't want to. The wall behind me was cold, he was hot, and between those two extremes, I was vibrating. It was as if my body were torn between two worlds, the fear of being discovered and the desire to be exactly that, discovered. His breath was too close, panting against my neck, accelerating. Every time he inhaled, I lost a little more control. He didn't have to tell me he was ready. His body said it, his and mine. If someone opened the door right now, what would they see? A woman being dominated, or a woman who had finally allowed herself to be? My hand descended as if it already knew its destination. And it did. My touch found what it was looking for, firm, defined, beneath the fabric of his pants. It was a clear signal. He was on the edge, too. When my fingers squeezed gently, he responded with an involuntary thrust of his hips. He said nothing, but his body reacted as if to say, asterisk, keep going, asterisk. And I did. I undid the button with the slowness of someone who is in a hurry but enjoys the tease. The zipper came down with a muffled sound. He helped with a half smile on his lips, and that crooked look in his eyes, the kind of look only someone who knows another's limits can give. I knelt right there on the cold floor. The contrast with the heat inside me was brutal. My hands traveled up the inside of his thighs, and when my lips touched his exposed skin, everything seemed to stop. There was no sound in the room, only the air being cut by his now heavier breathing. I kissed him slowly, exploring, tasting him. A mix of salt, sweat, and something that was uniquely his. But it was when his hand came to my hair, pulling with a mix of firmness and care, that I understood. This was no longer a provocation. It was a decision. He had let me play. Now he was the one in charge, and I was already on my knees, but not to plead. He turned me with a firmness that didn't ask for an opinion, and I didn't want to give one. My body understood before my mind did. My hands found the wall, cold, rough, the perfect contrast to what was coming from behind. His body pressed against mine with urgency, as if every second apart had been a waste. My nightgown rode up without resistance, leaving everything exposed. And then, without ceremony, he crossed the line. There was no warning, just a fitting, full of intention. I felt it first on my skin, then in the core of my surrender. The pressure was slow at first, as if he were testing how far he could go. Then it came deep, firm, without hesitation. My knees buckled, but he held me by the waist, keeping my body where he wanted it. The wall behind us seemed to vibrate along with me. Or maybe it was just my body, trembling, burning. The house was completely silent. Only our ragged breaths filled the room, his in my ear, hot and rhythmic, mine, caught between my teeth, trying not to escape too loudly. The sensation was overwhelming, as if each thrust pushed not only my body, but everything I felt. It was more than physical. It was a silent, complete domination. If someone saw me now, would they see a woman in sin? Or a woman who was finally being found? The bed seemed like a relief, but also a stage, or perhaps an altar. He pushed me onto the sheets with the same urgency as before, but now there was something different in his eyes, more fixed, more intimate. He laid me on my back, parting my legs with his knees, slowly, never losing control. And he fit inside me again, there, as if he had never left. His body covered mine completely, but it was his gaze that truly left me bare. He looked at me like someone seeing a memory fall back into place. When we connected again, it was deeper, not just physically, but in feeling. Each of his movements was a direct message to my body. Asterisk. This is how I return. This is how you recognize me. With every thrust, my breath hitched. My hand covered my own mouth, not to censor myself, but to contain what couldn't escape. Moans, confessions, pleas. The bed creaked, the mattress gave way, and all I could do was look at him. There was no more shame, no more retreat. Here, everything was accepted, everything was permitted. Was it just desire? No. It was a reunion, and my body had known it from the start. He spoke in a low voice, almost between his teeth, words that mixed with the sound of his breathing. He called me everything, mixing praise with provocation, as if he knew that's how I melted faster. And I accepted it. I didn't just accept it. I wanted more. I wanted every dirty word said at the exact right moment. Every stray phrase that made me feel both small and powerful at the same time. His body pushed mine against the mattress, and with each new thrust, I felt myself losing control. But I didn't try to hold on. It came like a hot, dense wave, a shiver that began at my core and exploded through my limbs. My body contorted without permission. My thighs trembled. My skin was on fire. I let him. His kiss came before the words. He kissed me slowly, with a deep, deliberate hunger. His tongue traced my lips, as if it still had a story to tell. And it did. He withdrew from me with a slow reluctance, as if he couldn't bear to say goodbye, leaving a trail in his wake. Traces. Evidence. The sheets absorbed it all. Sweat, heat, our history. I lay back, spent, my eyes closed, my body still open. Nothing in me was left untouched, yet every part of me cried out for it to happen again. Why, even after everything, did I still want more? He dressed himself with the same deliberate rhythm he had used to dismantle me with his gaze. Each piece of clothing returned to his body as if it knew its place. No hurry, but no attachment either. I watched in silence, still lying there, still warm, still marked. 2 steps toward the window, and it opened with a low creak, as if it, too, longed to watch him leave. The cold pre-dawn air swept in, a shiver that started on my skin, but settled deep inside me. It wasn't just the wind, it was the memory, returning. He said nothing. He just looked at me. But that one look held everything. The "see you soon," the unspoken "you know I'll be back," and even the silent command to try and forget me. And I never tried. In truth, every night like this is just another chapter in a story that refuses to find its end. The open window is the signal. And my body? An open invitation. Because no matter how wrong it feels, nothing has ever felt as right as this silent ritual. He enters like a thief, but possesses me like a man who holds the key.